Hello and welcome to another Alloc-Init.com screencast. Today I want to show you an improved way to integrate CoreData into your Xcode projects. If you're like me, you probably started out by checking the little CoreData button whenever you create a new project. And while that works, it has some flaws. And I just kind of want to show you that real quick. Start by creating a new project. It'll be empty. And we'll call this CoreData wrong. And we'll use CoreData. Everything else pretty much the same. And we'll create it right here. So you see we got our CoreData model here in the entity editor. And if you look over here, you'll see our AppDelegate. The thing that's wrong with this is it'll get you in the habit of treating your AppDelegate as a catch-all for any type of shared code. And while the AppDelegate may or may not in your situation be a good place to attach your CoreData stack, you don't want to just leave it spewed all throughout it like this. This code, first of all, includes the abort statement, which is nothing that should ever be in your shipping code. But also, it's not really the best or the neatest way to actually accomplish these tasks. I'm not a big fan of magic literals, where it's just a string that you hope is right and hope that it makes things happen. And like I said, I just don't like it tucked down in here. It's taking up too much space. Your AppDelegate, without any code added by your part, starts out at 149 lines. That is not a good place to start. So let me go ahead and I'll just go ahead and show you another way to do this. We'll start by creating a new project. So we'll go to File, New, Project. And we'll create an empty application. And we're going to call this CoreData Write. We are not going to check Use CoreData. Go ahead and click Next. And just go ahead and save it where you like. What we'll want to do first, since we did not check CoreData, there's a couple of setups that you need to get done in order to make sure this works. I actually like to use the @import statement, but sometimes it doesn't work. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to go in here and import it manually. And to do that, you just go to your project, your target, link with libraries, and add CoreData by clicking the little plus there. Pretty simple. Next, we're going to drag in some files. Don't get scared. I will go through these files and explain how they work. But we're just going to drag them right in here and copy. There. So what did I add? Okay, I got this new file here called root CoreData stack. And this is a file that basically encapsulates everything that we need to set up our CoreData into a single object. If you look at the header, you'll notice here that I'm importing Foundation and CoreData. Those are the two required frameworks. And if you go down here, I have 4 properties that are available to the user of this: root context, persistent store coordinator, persistent store, and managed object model. Now, if you know much about CoreData, or if you don't, that's fine. Basically, the only thing you really need to use to get started with CoreData is you need access to the root context. So that's what we're going to be working with right now. If you look at the implementation, you'll see here that it's kind of the same stuff we had going before. I've got a little bit more error handling in here, some nice little logged out messages to make things look nice. And I'm actually merging the object model from the CoreData, from the app bundle. So there's no way it can't find it. It'll find it if you typo the name. You don't have to worry about that. So how do we use this? Let's first go over to our AppDelegate. And we're going to clean out these 5 useless methods. Well, I mean, useless for this example. They have their purpose. And we're left with just our did finish launching with options. And we'll go ahead and click Run just to make sure that it runs. All right, we got it. And you know what I'm going to do? I always like to change this just so that you know that we're actually running our code. There you go. See, it's red. Okay, so now what are we going to do? The first thing I like to do is we need to import hs root core data stack.h into our AppDelegate. And you're not required to do this in your AppDelegate. You can actually import this object anywhere you like in your code and use it from there. Usually you want to keep this in one place because this is meant to be the core data managed object context that actually interacts with the file system. You don't want to create a whole bunch of these unless you have a very specific reason to. And AppDelegate's a good place because it gets created when the app starts, and it's usually the last thing sticking around when your app ends. So we've imported it here, and we're going to create a property. We're going to make it non-atomic. And this is going to be our HS root core data stack object, and we're going to call this core data stack. We're also going to create another property. This one is going to be an NS managed object context, and we're going to call it our root context. Now this is just a convenience accessor. You really don't need access to this. You can always do core data stack.root context. That works fine as well. But I'm just going to keep this in here because it makes a nice little place for us to create everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a method down here, which is going to be HS root core data stack. No, I'm sorry, I was doing it right before. NS managed object context root context. And if you're familiar with lazy loading, that's essentially what I'm doing right now. It means that your object will not be created until it's actually used the first time. So we're going to create our core data stack. There. So now the first time that you access this, you will see that it'll create our core data stack for us. So we're going to go ahead and jump down here and have it be created the first time. Context. That'll actually cause our context to be created. Now there's one more thing you might notice that we're missing. We have all of our boilerplate in place now, which was way quicker if you were doing it from scratch and way neater if you were using the templates. But we're missing one crucial piece, and for a lot of people this is crucial, and that is our core data editor. We don't have an object model over here. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add that now. We'll right click on our folder, new file, and it's going to create a core data model. Next. And we're just going to call this awesome model. Doesn't really matter what you call it, just make sure that it's targeted to your right, the target, which is going to be core data right, and it's being saved to core data right. Hit create. Ta-da! We now have our awesome model. Once it loads. There we go. We have our awesome model. So we're going to, just to make sure that we're still good, we're going to go ahead and hit run. Now, I got this pulled up here. I can actually show you something kind of neat. If you go down into our applications folder here, this is for the simulator, and we go into core data done right, you'll see that it's actually went ahead and created our SQLite database for us. That lets us know that our core data stack has been initialized and it is active. There's no schema set up in it yet, and it doesn't have any entities, but we're going to do that right now. For now, we got that. First, what we're going to do, we're going to add an entity. I'm going to do something very generic. We're going to create a address book type thing. So we're going to call it first name type string last name. Sorry, this is really boring. And then we're just going to say email. Make it a type string. And we're going to call these people, or person. All right, very simple core data model. This can get as complex as you like, but for now this is what we're going to do. And just to make sure that it still runs, Command R. Yep, we're still running, so all good. And that's essentially how you get it set up. I'll try to do a more expansive core data tutorial at some point in the future, but this will help you at least get if you're using core data now, this will help you get your AppDelegate cleaned up a bit so that you don't have cute code spewed everywhere. You can already tell that this looks significantly neater than what Apple gives us to begin with. And I have all this code available up on GitHub, and if you have any questions or comments, you can direct them down here at the YouTube video, or feel free to send me a message on GitHub. I'll take a look at it and see if I can help you out. Thank you very much, and that's all for today. Thanks.